Good afternoon, everyone. Today I want to show you just how powerful AI has become for design software like Revit. I'll walk through a small example, how we can build a button that does exactly what we want, and how simple that process is with the help of AI. For this project, I'm using Claude from Anthropic. There are many AI tools out there, but Claude, and the Fable 5 model in particular, is remarkably good at this kind of work. So let me take you through one scenario and show how we can develop a button with a pyRevit script that makes our work far easier. On my screen is a sample project from Autodesk called Snowden Towers Sample Electrical. You can find it easily when you download Autodesk's sample library. It's saved alongside the program files on your C drive in a sample folder. You can open it from there or straight from the File menu. This is the cover sheet of the project. Let me open the floor plan, the power plan for the parking level. I'll walk through a small scenario here, just to give you the basic idea of what I'm designing and the problem it solves. As I zoom in, you can see a conduit made up of several segments, with fittings between them. That means the conduit is bending, usually because there's a structural member in the way or other pipes and conduits crossing its path. Let me place a conduit here first, so we have something to work with. I want it at the same height as the existing run, so I'll delete this one, and use Create Similar, which carries over the settings from the original. Now both conduits sit at the same height. The point is this: the conduit has to bend, otherwise it runs straight into the structure, or into the other pipes. The usual way to handle this is to draw a section view, look at the conduit from the side, find the clash, and adjust it by hand. What I've done instead is build a small pyRevit script that reroutes the conduit for me. Let me show it in the 3D view so it's easier to follow. I'll open a section around the conduit and switch into 3D. This gives us a 3D view of the area inside the section box. It looks a little cluttered, so I'll clean it up through visibility graphics and hide the extra lines. Then I'll set the view to shaded, with a fine level of detail, so we can see the actual conduit clearly. Now you can see a structural beam passing directly over the conduit's path. One option would be to drop the conduit down and route it underneath by hand. But instead, I'll let my script reroute this segment for me. These are the buttons I've built with AI. And here's the important part: even though each one is a Python script, I'm not a programmer. I don't write code at all. I simply asked Claude to generate a pyRevit button for me, and it did. I'll show you exactly how that works a little later, but first, let me show you what it actually does. This one is called Conduit Bypass. I select the conduit, click Conduit Bypass, and it asks me for a clearance. Right now the value is in feet, though I can switch it to inches in the script. I'll enter 0.5 feet, about 6 inches, and click OK. It now recalculates the conduit and rebuilds the route. It's running a little slowly here, because I have another process working in the background. And there it is. The conduit has rerouted itself, up and over the beam, with no manual adjustment at all. What the script does is find the solid object above the conduit and, using the clearance you gave it, route the run cleanly around it. Now let me show you a second case. At the start there was a clash between the conduit and a column. But there doesn't have to be a clash. The tool works just as well when there isn't one. So I'll draw a new conduit here, and take a look at it in 3D. In this spot, the floor steps down on the parking side and sits higher on the other side, so the conduit needs to be rerouted. Again, I select the conduit, run Conduit Bypass, enter 0.5, and it reroutes exactly as before. From there I can select the end segment and connect it to the pull box, or wherever the run needs to go. So here's the idea. Instead of automating the entire workflow with AI, you can have AI design a specific button that works exactly the way you want. And the biggest advantage is this: you only need the AI to design the button. After that, it's just pyRevit, plain Python code. It becomes your own tool, and it runs perfectly well without any AI at all. For an engineer like me, with no programming background, That's the most powerful thing AI has to offer. Everyone works a little differently, and most of us carry an idea in our head, a button that would make our own workflow faster and more productive. But we're held back because we don't have the scripting skills. There's also Dynamo from Autodesk, but a Python script gives you far more flexibility because you can pair it with AI to do the heavy lifting. Let me stop here. This is only a small example. With Python scripting in Revit, you can build much larger tools. Now let me show you how this actually comes together. The foundation of it all is pyRevit. If you're new to pyRevit, head to its page on GitHub. It walks you through the entire setup. It's not a difficult task. A simple search will give you every step you need to install it. Once pyRevit is installed, there's one thing worth doing to make everything more efficient. Go into the pyRevit settings, and you'll find where you can add your own custom extension folder, the place where your scripts, your code, and your icons live. I've linked my own folder here, which I've named Claude Code, because that's where everything is built. Save the settings, reload, and all your scripts sit right there. Then you come over to Claude. As I mentioned, Claude is exceptional at coding. Claude Code gives you a chat right alongside your files, and it's genuinely powerful because it takes so much of the manual work off your hands. You take the same folder you linked in pyRevit and point Claude Code at it. Then you simply ask, "Design me a pyRevit button," and tell it to save the file into that folder. It writes the pyRevit code, drops it into the folder, and then you go back to pyRevit and reload. You can even ask it to design an icon for the button, and it will create the icon and place it there too. Back in pyRevit, you reload, and there's your button. It may not work perfectly on the very first try. There may be a few errors. When that happens, you copy the error, paste it back to Claude, and it reworks the code and replaces the previous version. Then you reload again, and you keep going until the button does exactly the job you want. We can also take that back and forth out of the picture, since it can be time-consuming. What we do is connect Revit directly to Claude through an MCP connector. To set one up, you go to Connectors, Add Connector, and browse the available ones. Claude shows some by default, but the one you need may not always be there. You can find a connector on GitHub and download it. Just make sure it comes from a proper, trusted source, so you don't run into trouble later. Once it's connected, Claude can read the data straight from Revit. And once it can read the model, it can run the code itself and keep refining it until the tool does its job. It's a genuinely powerful way to work, and I'm grateful for it. The Fable 5 model really is that good. The one drawback right now is cost. Claude is token-based, so you have a set amount of usage. There's a 5-hour limit and a weekly limit, and on the monthly plan, everything resets each month. Within those 5 hours, the tokens aren't unlimited, and with Fable in particular, you can use only a portion of them. So if you're not careful with how you work, the tokens can run out quickly. With unlimited tokens, I could build a great deal more with Fable. As it stands, it might run on Revit for 30 minutes, and then I wait for the limit to reset before carrying on, which is the one thing I'd change. Other than that, it's excellent. There's also a way to pair a third-party AI with Claude, and I'll cover that in a future video. For now, I just wanted to give you a small glimpse of how much we can build. Thanks for watching.